Welcome, everyone. How beautiful to be together with all of you up here, with all of you out there, with all of you joining us through our live stream. It's truly remarkable, and the first time that I, since joining this community, have the blessing of being here for one of these beautiful musical gatherings for this Nashirah service. And it's amazing because just with that beautiful niguna, I feel like I've arrived in a sacred space, that we've stepped into a moment of stillness, a moment of blessing and opportunity, a place of welcome in Shabbat. And that's what we are all here for, to be lifted by one another and to grow together, to find a moment of stillness and tranquility, serenity, and surrender of pause and passion after a week, and every week has its challenges and vicissitudes. And every week leads up to this momentous moment, this time, this sacred time together of Shabbat.
Shabbat is our time of softening. And as the teaching goes through the week, we have our fist in our hands. We clench, we anger, we get irritated, we lose our temper, but come Shabbat, those clenched fists should soften to an open palm as we place our Kiddush cup upon it. So whatever tension you came in with the week, we soften. See if you can drop your shoulders. Breathe the week away and soften. Return to Yedid Nefesh, page 10, which calls out Ya'arutz Avdach Kamo Ayam, asking that we could run towards the infinite like a gazelle. Why? Because it is swift, agile, flexible, and light. So close your eyes and breathe in the lightness of the spirit of the gazelle, softening our bodies and joining in song.
this week in the Torah, Parshat Mishpatim, which includes within it the famous line, ayin tachat ayin, shein tachat shein, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and so on. And in the Torah, the context, what it's telling us is that every damage has a consequence, and every consequence should fit the crime. But I think the way in which it's constructed in the Torah teaches something else, because it's not, even though in the context it's talking about the different ways a person can be hurt, what it's really talking about is that everything that happens to us and everything that we put out into the world, good and bad, that there's a response that's appropriate, that everything we take from the world, we have the opportunity to return, and that for every blessing that we can count, and we can count our blessings, and they include our eyes and our teeth and so many other physical elements. They include so many people that are in our lives that are blessings to us. They include our relationships and our faculties, our intentions and our opportunities. There are so many blessings that we take for granted each and every day. And what I think the Torah is asking us to do is to recognize that with our blessings we are empowered, that with our blessings there is so much that we have to give to lift one another up. And truly that's what L'chun Ranana asks us to do. When we say, let us go and sing praises to Adonai, to sing praises to God, the psalm that we're about to sing, what it's saying is that each of us can't do it alone. That each of us has a blessing to God and a blessing to one another that we can share. That each of us has gifts that we have been given. And that each of us, when we count our blessings, when we see one another, when we share what we see with our eyes, what we smile with our teeth, when we share all of the things that make us exactly the sources of goodness and blessing that we are put in this world, that is how we lift one another up. That L'chun Ranana is an invitation for us to sing along, to be inspired by all the people singing and playing up here, to be inspired by the person sitting next to you, to be inspired by the community, the sacred place and space that we build together. L'chun Ranana, page 11.
Dannah.
a moment, we are going to sing Yismechu Hashemayim on page 14. In this beautiful psalm, these lines say, "Let the heavens be glad, let the earth rejoice, and the sea in its fullness shall roar." What a beautiful affirmation of hope. We celebrate the creation of the world each Shabbat, yet it can be so easy to see ourselves outside of that creation. When teaching the creation story to a group of second graders one year, I shared the midrash that God spoke to the angels and said, "Let us make humans in our image." And a student stood up and said, "Rabbi, actually, God was talking to the sky and to the earth and to the sea and animals, that we should be like them, remembering who came before us." We turn our bodies, our earth, our sky, our minds to Yismechu Hashemayim as we have a little instrumentation rotation. Sorry, I left the capo in there for you. And I want to invite you to get into your earthy self. If you've not let go of the wheat yet, this is a great opportunity. You are one with the earth. Yismechu Hashemayim. Do you need this microphone? You do need this microphone. Scott, you may move this, huh? To Roger's spot. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Breathe in. Maybe place yourself in your favorite nature spot. Oh, that's my fault.
We'll turn now.
If only we had a roadie.
Oh, there we go. We have you, Scott. We have you.
Thank goodness.
We'll turn now to page 23, and in a moment we'll be singing Lecha Dodi. And what we've been doing for this service for Nashira is rather than singing together each of the verses of Lecha Dodi each time we gather in this way, the first time we focused on the first verse, and this is our second time gathering in this special musical service. And so we're going to focus on the second verse, Likrat Shabbat, that you can find in the middle of page 23. Let us go out and greet Shabbat. That speaks to the way that this song came to be. That 500 years ago, the mystics of Sfat would go out and dance in the fields. They would go out, and as they would see the sun setting over the mountaintop, and they would look over into the beauty of nature, into the mist that settled on them, they would know that God was with them, and they were greeting the bride of Shabbat, the partner of the Jewish people. And it speaks in this verse about how Shabbat is Merosh Mikedem Nesucha, that beyond the veil of creation, at the very first moment, when God uttered those words, let there be light, God was thinking about all of the things that would come in order that there could be Shabbat, that the intention of the first day and the second day and all the first 6 days was that then there would be able to be this moment of rest, that we would be inheritors of this tradition of stepping out, stepping back from all of the challenges of the week and being able to enter into a sacred space, to be able to enter a Sabbath of rest, of peace, of understanding, of growth, a space of love. That from the very first moment, that everything we do every week, even when we're not thinking about it, even when it's not our intentional intention, it's our unintentional, it's our subliminal intention, that everything that we begin will take us to the next moment, when we can pause, the next moment, when we can genuinely experience the peace and joy of Shabbat. So let's come together and welcome the Sabbath Bride.
Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat, Nekabela. See that again. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Dodi. Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat Lechu b'nelcha Ki b'kor ha'baracha Merosh mikedem Nesuka Sof ma'aseh Dodi, Likrat Dodi, Likrat Kala, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, Lechu b'nelcha, Ki b'kor ha'baracha, Merosh mikedem Nesuka. Likrat Dodi, Likrat Kala, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. Yainai How are you doing? So good. Such a blessing. It's such a blessing to make music, to be together. Can we just look around, wave to our friends, watching everywhere? Just, we're here. We're here despite all the things. We're here. And this is the moment when we sing the Psalm for Shabbat, which celebrates the wonders of the world, God's abilities, little children making noises, which just reminds us there's a future to grow. And this is a wonderful time for us as a community to pause and share good news. Are you celebrating something, marking something, completing something, growing something? This is a moment for us as a kahila to just hear each other. What's good for you? And perhaps when we hear some good news, we might say, Todah la'el. That means thanks to God that you get that blessing and that we get to share in the joy of that. So, b'vakasha, birthdays, anniversaries, please. Hey, Michelle, or sorry, Sammy. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sammy,
Sammy's birthday.
happy
Sammy's birthday this week.
Basketball championship, we say Todah la'el, and your coach and your team, kol hakavod, that's awesome. The school talent show,
Woo,
wow,
woo.
Todah la'el, fantastic, yeah. You got your green belt in kickboxing. Hey, what do we
Ooh.
say? Todah la'el and kol hakavod. That was some hard work. What else? What was that sweetness, the moment? Breathe it in. Maybe you know somebody who's celebrating and it's brought some joy in your life.
There's somebody in the back there, I think, who's raising his hand. Evie, are you
Evie,
raising
is that
your
you
hand?
raising your hand? I got to shower one morning and it was like really quiet. I don't know where my children were, but it was a moment for me to say Todah la'el. So, any of you know that moment. And if you get to shower regularly and it's quiet, well, you don't really. I mean, I hope you're relishing in the joy of that because that is a blessing. Amen.
And Nora Feinberg made the state show choir.
Hey,
The all-state show choir. Amazing, Nora.
Todah la'el, Nora, for your state show choir.
Mazel
It's
tov.
great news. Evie, go ahead. You met a baseball player. Oh, and you joined a baseball team. It's very exciting. Todah la'el. Beautiful. Well, I want to invite you all right now to just find that break, that moment that in your week that gave you pause, that gave you joy. We're going to sing the words of Tzaddik Katamar with this beautiful to us new nigun. And that's on page 27. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. And I want to invite us to come back to that gentleness, softening sway of its branches. Enjoy this new tune as we breathe into our Shabbat together. Tzadik Katamar. Tzadik, Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik, Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Ke'eretz Bavanon Yizker, Yizker, Yizker. Ke'eretz Bavanon Yizker, Yizker, Yizker. Tzadik, Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik, Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Ke'eretz Bavanon Yizker, Yizker, Yizker. Ke'eretz Bavanon Yizker, Yizker, Yizker. Tzadik, Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik, Tzadik Katamar Yifra. Tzadik Katamar Yifra.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, so wonderful to be here with all of you, to be here, up here with all of you, making such beautiful music, leading us in such beautiful prayer, welcoming us into this community, into Shabbat. Thank you. And thanks to all of you joining us online, Kim and Charlie, Rob, Allison, Mike, Pam, Susan and Steve, Barbara, Dannah, and so many others. Know that your presence is felt with all of us here in the sanctuary as well. This week in Parshat Mishpatim, we read about Moses going up the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And we have the line of the Jewish people officially accepting the obligations of Torah, saying, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. The rabbis imagine that God shopped the Torah around for a while first, going to different nations and offering them Torah. And each nation would ask, what's in the Torah? And God would say, well, there's a commandment that you shouldn't murder. And they would say, that's a really important part of our society. No thanks. And it was like this with each nation until God came to the Jewish people. And the Jewish people said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will hear. We will do and we will listen. And the traditional rabbinic understanding of this is what it means is that the Jewish people accepted the Torah without knowing what they were accepting, that they had such love for God. They were so ready to be a part, to be in relationship with the Holy One, that at that moment of revelation, it didn't matter what was in the Torah, that whatever it was something that we were ready to do, and that then we would study, that then we would listen, that then we would come to understand what it was that we had committed ourselves to. But I want to suggest that it doesn't only mean that it's a lesson also for us today. Because the Torah literally means teaching. And the way in which we learn and grow is by doing and also by listening. And sometimes we listen. It's always good to read the instructions before you start. But how many of us click that box? Oh yes, I accept these terms and conditions without ever reading them. Pretty much all of us. Yeah, that's right. And here's the truth. The truth is that there's so much that we know and there's so much that we're convinced that we know. But sometimes there are people that think differently than we do. Sometimes the Torah suggests things differently than what we think it should say. And the challenge is to be able to be open to the possibility, of course, that what we know is right, but also to be open to the possibility that what we know is not right. and that we can listen, and that we can change, and that we can grow, and that the things that we assume to be true today might not be the same things that we assume to be true tomorrow. And that so often what we're tempted to do is dig in and say, I know I'm right. And it would be weak to say that I could be mistaken. It would be weak to listen to somebody who has a different perspective. But actually what our Torah is teaching is that the strength of the Jewish people is that we do, but also even after we've done, we listen and we hear diverse perspectives. You know, the Talmud has thousands and thousands of pages. There's not a single one where there's not an argument. Not a single one, every page of the Talmud, thousands of pages. A rabbi says this and a different rabbi says that, and they don't agree. And it's such a beautiful thing that we are not afraid of the possibility that someone else can think something different than us. We're not afraid of the possibility that we could be wrong and that each of us still has something to learn. So in this time fraught with division in a world where so often we are categorized into camps and we are told anyone that thinks differently than what we think is wrong, let's open our hearts, let's open ourselves the same way that our ancestors did to the possibility that even those that we disagree with have something to teach us as well. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Nishkach.
We turn now to page 39 for the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer. Please rise.
For the Shema, but one breath for each word, just letting it ride into our space, creating the oneness together. Breathing in. Shema.
ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך וקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות ביניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We're going to move to Mi Kamocha. Moment of expansion, page 44. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you, son. We move ourselves into a space of quiet prayer. The Amidah in the evening is done silently. You can find that on page 47. So please rise. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel free to use the book, the heart. It feels right. They welcome us into this place of prayer. Adonai sifatai titachu fiyah tehilatecha. find yourself complete, feel free to have a seat. We turn our prayers from ourselves to those in need. We begin to think of those that are on our hearts, in need of healing.
God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who brought healing to Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those for whom we pray. Batya Rivka Bat Sufia, Natalie Klapek, Bracha Bat Bela, Pat Zlotnick, Stan Quaison, John Granick, AJ White, Gil Van Order, Linda Pressman, Howard Strauss Sr., Esther Batya Vyakov, Aviva Chana Batova Tikva V'Chaim Melech, Marty Cohen, Miriam Bat Ariella, Iris Granick, Pat Shanker, Lev Aaron Ben Moshe Ve'eda, Victoria Bat Pesha, Lael Lebing, Phyllis Weinstein, David Ben Leah, Harav Tzvi Chana Basaru V'Rachmiel Yosef, Yodit Bat Chana, Terry LaFrance, Adam LaFrance, Eliyahu Ben Shoshana, Arnold Cohen, Meyer David Ben Brindle, Brooklyn Adley Moskowitz, Betty Hirsch, Shalom Ben Pessel, Chaim Michael Ben Yitzchak Yocheved, Eliyahu David Ben Yodit Chana, Chaim Ben Chana Velabel, Eileen Martin, Brian Perlman, Shira Bat Chaya Moshe, Chaya Chosel Bat Devora, Anna Boardman, Chaya Bat Rella, Rafal Chaim Ben Sylvia, Froma Elka Bat Arya Lev Esther Rachel, Roberta Lipsman, Sarah Vida Bat Esther, Perla Bat Chila Bat Esther, Barak Ben Bracha, and all the others who are ill, who we hold in our hearts. May the Holy One restore them to fullness of health, of body, of mind, and spirit, blessing them, all those dedicated to their care, and all others on the journey toward recovery.
To bring our service to a conclusion with the Kaddish Shalem, preparing us to say pretty soon farewell on page 53. What? 54. There it is. Don't go to 53, but go to 54.
Yikara vikara shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amadi v'achirti v'michmachutei v'chaychon v'yomechon v'chayrecho v'Yisrael. Bagalav v'zmangari v'yimeru.
Amen.
Yehei Rabba mevorach. Le'olam ome amaya. Yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yistabach v'yidbar b'shema v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalosh v'yinakudasha.
Baruchu.
Le'olam micho v'chata v'shirata d'shpechata v'nechemata d'miram v'yama v'imeru.
Amen.
Titkabel tzorchonu avahon d'chol Yisrael kadam avahon di b'shmaya v'imeru.
Amen.
Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru.
Amen.
Osei shalom b'romav, hu yasei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imeru.
Amen.
We rise for the Aleinu on 56.
Hey no, hey no, hey no, hey no. Aleinu l'shabbat adon hakol l'tayid l'ad observation shelo asanu k'goyei aratzah v'lo samanu mishpachot ha'adama shelo samanu hakam v'gor aleinu kol avonam v'anachorim u'shachavim odim eino 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 kagatu toratecha Adonai lo le'olam va'ed ne'emar haya Adonai melech ha'aretz v'yom ha'achud Yehonai echad shmo echad eino 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 eino.
May be seated. We recognize the Gertzites this evening of Eleanor Rodman, Milton Zweig, Sonia Ginsburg, Ernest Altstatter, Rebecca Rudman, Abraham Richter, Elaine Rosenberg, Mary Elfman, Nick Einfeld, Sidney Freeman, Albert Ross, Sidney Solomon, Charles Weinstein, Albert Joseph, Dodie Norben, Jonas Kleiner, Leon Cooper, and Susan Nauer. We also wish love and comfort to Judy Searle on the passing of her mom in the funeral earlier this week. Mourners and those observing a yard site, please rise as we pray to Hani Shmatam Tzurah B'Tzurachim, the souls of our loved ones past, be bound in the bond of life eternal. The Kaddish is on page 58. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divara ke'irutei, be'amalich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zaman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehei shemei Rabba mevorach le'olam u'lomei olmaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpawar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'yimeru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. Oseh shalom b'maromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yoshevei Tevel ve'imeru. Amen. You may be seated. So nice to see you, Nate and Judy, and also Jerry joining us online. Glad to have you here, and it's my pleasure now to invite President of our congregation, Frank Jacobson, who also happens to be sitting right next to me, to share this evening's announcements.
And that's pretty unusual. I don't get to sit next to you, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
My joy.
Thank you. And thank you, Rabbi and Rabbi Aviva, for leading us in tonight's service. It's been very special, and I can't say enough. But I also want to thank our singers and our vocalists. So I'm going to introduce, and if you'll just at least nod, Roger Cohen on bass, David Sharp on guitar, David Rubin on violin,
Fiddler on the Roof over here.
Ron Kushner on percussion, Myra Alpert and Scott Wiegand on vocals, and of course our dear Rabbi and vocals and whatever, I'd like to help. And Rabbi Aviva, thank you for your spirit and your music and your arrangements. And if you don't know, Rabbi Aviva wrote a number of the pieces, composed a number of the pieces, I should say, in our singing tonight. And so we're very, very grateful to you and the other composers of lots of wonderful Jewish music. Thank you. Toby Fox, thank you for your technical support and your two assistants back there, Archer and EB. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And to Denny, were you our greeter tonight? Thank you. We appreciate that, Denny Lieber. And let's see. Please check out the weekly bulletin for announcements. Our COVID-19 update webinar will take place Monday night. You'll get another email on Sunday for the link at 7 p.m. So check it out. I think it's going to be very, very informative. We'd like you to save the date for the Wilcott Shabbat, February 12th, coming up. And let's see, join the Or Tzion Fundraising Committee for a meeting on Thursday, February the 3rd at 12 p.m. Check the bulletin for more information on that. It promises to be a fun couple of projects, and so I hope you'll take part in that. And also, if you haven't noticed in the bulletin, Rabbi Green is teaching an Intro to Judaism class on Tuesday nights at 7:30. So whether you want the intro for the first time or the 12th or 100th or 1,000,000th time, it promises to be a very educational class. And of course, we always like it when Rabbi teaches. So thank you, Rabbi Green. Please check our website and our e-bulletin for more announcements. And Shabbat Shalom, and thank you all for tuning in and also for coming, for those of you that are here.
Hey, it's now my pleasure to invite Frank Lane to lead us in Kiddush.
Yeah. Stand up, please rise.
Bring it, yeah, come over this way.
Come here so you can get in the camera here, please.
Would you like some words?
That's good. Yeah, we would like some words.
That's good. Those words.
I'm going to do the short version.
You want to do the short verse, and then we'll join you for the rest of it.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'hava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikroi kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yahava uratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim.
Amen.
Thanks for making the challenge there. We're going to send you off. I'll have you take that way. Okay. Fantastic. We hope that you have enjoyed yourself in the service. We have enjoyed welcoming Shabbat with you. Services begin tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. Have a beautiful evening. You can dance yourselves before you leave. Oh, say shalom Roma. Say shalom aleinu, ve'al Yisrael, ve'al kol yotzei Tel, ve'imru, amen.
Shalom.